Look, y'all, on the bright side, I got a very special guest with me today. Okay. But anyway, listen. We got to talk about these Baltimore Ravens. Okay. They have had me frustrated. Let me show your face to the camera, my friend. They have had me frustrated for the last couple of days. Okay. Um, the Ravens lost 41-40 against the Bills. This is my instant reactions, not so instant, but still instant nonetheless. And look, I'm gonna try to be more on top of these type of things just for you all, because I know you guys love the raw emotions of all of these things, and I think also it gives us an opportunity to vent as Ravens fans, especially after losses more than anything. I mean, we can vent in a good way after wins, but look, y'all, 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Ravens just continue to squander leads over and over again. It doesn't matter who the personnel is. It doesn't matter who the coordinators are. But ironically enough, this has become a problem post Greg Roman. And there's only, in terms of the coaching staff, there's only one guy I can think of that is the problem. We're going to get right into that. But look, y'all, 41-40, the Ravens lose to the Bills in a week one shocking disappointment of deja vu like proportions, y'all. And it's deja vu because the Ravens have blown leads time and time again. The Ravens have lost to the Bills time and time again in moments that feel a little bit bigger than a regular week 5, week 6 victory from last year. And this seems to be the overall issue with the Baltimore Ravens right now. Right, this seems to be the overall issue with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have a problem finishing games. The Ravens have a problem winning big games. The Ravens have a problem right now, and I think we have to address it. But look, I'm not gonna. This is my instant reaction, so I'm not gonna give you too much in this video. I'm gonna do an extended reaction very soon. Probably coming up tomorrow. I'm gonna do an extended reaction on how I feel about these Baltimore Ravens after the week 1 loss. Am I throwing in the towel? Am I already ready to give up? Is this a microcosm of what we can expect to see from the Baltimore Ravens? I hope not, but I will talk about that a little bit later. But look, I'm gonna break this down in the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let's start with the good, because we might as well start with positives. Okay, I love positives. I love positivity. I love the power of positivity and what positivity can do for you. Okay, I really do. I'm a really positive person in that regard. I'm always the optimist. Y'all know this on this show if you ever watched it. But look, the good is the Ravens are really good, right? The good is the Ravens have so much potential. We talking about, let's be honest, y'all. We talking about dominance, okay? You want to be dominant, okay? We talking about dominance, okay? The Ravens in the first 3 quarters were dominant in this game, right? Especially offensively. The Bills score, the Ravens score back. The defense gets enough stops to put the Ravens up by 15. That's positives right there. I'm good with that. The run game, amazing, right? The passing game, efficient. But you leaned on what you needed to get the job done. And the Ravens did that. And shout out to them for that. That is the good, right? The good is Derrick Henry picked up right from where he left off. The good is this run game still going to be absolutely a force in this league, which makes this pass game even more of a force in this league. That's the good. The bad, I'm going to switch this because originally I had the defense as my bad, but I'm going to switch it. The bad. The bad is the defense, right? I think I mixed it up, but, don't want to give too much anyway. The bad is the defense. 40 points. And maybe I should tell you why I think they're the bad and not the ugly now. Because this defense, we know they have the talent to be good. We know that Zach Orr can develop and create a pretty good and opportunistic defense. And that's what they need more than anything, is to be opportunistic. They don't necessarily have to be great, but they have to bend but don't break. And all they did was break in this game, especially when you need them the most, which has been a problem in the playoffs. They just broke. They just broke like a dam. They broke, and it wasn't good. And the thing about the Ravens is I have trust in them. That defense, I don't have to worry about. It's funny, y'all. My friends, when Adonai Mitchell was cooking, scorching, hibachi chickening my Ravens defense here, I said, hey, it's going to be fine. If I'm going to trust the Ravens on anything, it's going to be defense. That still reigns true. But considering you got the Browns coming in next week, which I don't think you have to necessarily worry about a offensive onslaught or anything. I think you're fine on that. But you got the Bengals in week 3. We might see Bengals Ravens like we saw from last year, which could prompt a turnaround as it did last year. I guess we'll see. But more so, I mean, the only reason I'm bringing that up is you got the Bengals early in the season when your defense doesn't look that good, and that's a problem. They couldn't stop Josh Allen on command, right? You know, this is one of those situations where it's like, hey, you couldn't stop Josh Allen on command, right? You couldn't stop Allen, right? You couldn't stop Josh Allen on command, y'all, right? When you needed a stop, you can't get it. And that's the problem with his defense. That's been a annual problem with his defense, especially when we come into the January months. December, fine. November, fine. October, mostly fine. September, mostly fine if we don't want to talk about last year. So the bad is the defense, y'all. It's got to get better. I mean, you can honestly honorable mention the offensive line at times in this one, but they weren't as bad as the defense was. The offensive line was lost. We're going to talk about more about that in a later video where I'm not trying to be as raw as I'm being right now and as emotional as I'm being right now with kind of my initial thoughts. But, dude, the defense is just it's bad. It looks a lot like what it looked like at the beginning of last year. We just got to hope that it's not going to be more of the same. The talent is there, but the talent is there. I think EDC has built this defense, but anyway, the ugly. Look, I don't think I would have said this 3 years ago. But I gotta give a little shout out to Sip the Tally. I gotta give a little shout out to Lunch Break Hot Take. I gotta give a little shout out to the guy who pressed me on this show back when it was on their former name, but on this show about this one man. And I don't think I can honestly answer it. And now I've started to just think more and more about it. I want to deep dive a little bit more into it. John Harbaugh is the ugly of this team right now because it seems like the Ravens lose in the same ways time and time again. It seems like the Ravens lose similarly time and time again. They can't keep a lead. They can't keep a lead. And look, can we talk about this? John Harbaugh has been the consistent point in the Ravens' disappointment of not only week 1, but disappointment of the playoffs. John Harbaugh has been there, whether it's been Greg Roman, whether it's been Zach Orr, whether it's been Mike McDonald. John Harbaugh has been the consistent guy. And the more and more we see the Ravens lose games like this, the more and more you shift the blame to John Harbaugh. And I'm not the only one. You're talking about Chris Carter shifting the blame to John Harbaugh. We're talking about other guys in the national media who wouldn't touch John Harbaugh with a 10-foot pole in terms of what his legacy is. They're coming after John Harbaugh. And it begs the question, this is a whole nother series I want to do on the show, but it begs the question, starting the series right now on this show while I sit with y'all. What do we care about, Ravens fans? And not Ravens fans, I know what Ravens fans care about. I know what the flock cares about. But what do we care about if I ask the Baltimore Ravens? If I ask Steve Bisciotti, right? What do we care about? I would even think the players know what they care about more than sometimes I think the personnel does. But what do we care about? Legacy or longevity, y'all? That's a conversation we got to have because it's great to be tenured. And that was my answer to that question when Hendo pressed me about it. You know, he's been here for a long time. They've been pretty much consistent. But the Ravens might be the worst type of bowl team right now. You're so close to a Super Bowl. You're so close to a Super Bowl. Kind of Saints-esque, right? Like you're so close to a Super Bowl. But for whatever reason, you can't finish the job. And I think that reason might be more and more pointing to John Harbaugh every single, I want to say game, but I'm going to say loss. I'm going to specify and say loss. because it's the way the losses happen. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna say something bold right now, and maybe it'll get clipped and it'll go viral or something crazy like that. But no, I'm gonna be real with y'all right now, okay? My thing is when it comes to this whole situation is, why wouldn't John Harbaugh be the problem? Right? John Harbaugh's been the only consistent thing, y'all. John Harbaugh has been the only guy there time and time and time again. But my real question is, why is it that the Ravens keep losing in the ways that they do? John Harbaugh is supposed to be this great motivator. I think Wired, y'all. I really do. I think it's Wired. When I watch Wired right here, right? When I watch Wired, that's when I feel like, man, you know what, man? John Harbaugh, he's out there with the guys, right? He's lifting the weights with the guys, right? Like, he's for the team, right? He's got the emotion is there, the praying after every game. Like, I do want to like this guy. But then when you need the motivation, because I mean, even on touchdowns, even when things get rough, he's right there, right? But something's missing. There's a disconnect between the Wired and what we end up seeing in execution on the field in these games like this one. There is something there, y'all. There's something missing. And I think, long story short, y'all, I think John Harbaugh could be the problem, but the other problem that we run into as Ravens fans is we either have to wait for a Super Bowl for when John Harbaugh retires, or we got to win a Super Bowl despite John Harbaugh. I said this, when I felt like the Ravens were kind of turning the corner last year, especially early in the playoffs, I said the Ravens can win despite John Harbaugh, but, it's going to have to be despite John Harbaugh. But I think the issue that we're running into right now and why this is the ugly is the Ravens keep doing this time and time again, and it seems like there's no end in sight. The only end in sight is that the Ravens move on from John Harbaugh. But the problem is when you're a bubble team, as in AFC Championship game, as in divisional round, as in number 1 seed, as in coach of the year, as in MVPs, as in top defense, what's really wrong with the team? Right? I said that I said this about John Harbaugh and the potential of him getting fired. Why would you fire somebody who's right there on the cusp of winning the big one, winning another Super Bowl? Why would you fire him? But I think we have to look into that. I think there could be a real problem right here with John Harbaugh. Look, y'all, I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed. I know you all are as well. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, guys. I'm going to be honest. We're going to have this conversation all year long because this is not the last of these type of losses. Let's hope they don't happen in January and February. But the Ravens have to get over this problem right now. I got to know what y'all think below. Is John Harbaugh the problem? Let me know. Look, y'all, instant reactions. I'm going to do this every single week. I promise y'all I'm getting back to my instant reactions, and then I'm going to extend it a little bit more in the day or two coming. So, look, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm going to see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. I appreciate y'all for coming by. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, enjoying the conversation down below because you guys are my co-hosts. Look, y'all, I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show.